gonna work. I should stand to the side then, probably. Yeah.
I mean, you shouldn't block the.
Not good. I don't have to hold it.
Hey, guys.
Face.
Wait, where's the camera? Oh, so I look at that.
Oh my gosh!
Can you pick it
Welcome to the 21st century.
Yikes.
What's up, guys? How's everyone doing? We're gonna start off with tactics tonight, and then we're gonna do the normal kind of podcast format after that. So, if you have any questions for what I'm gonna go over, put them in the chat, and we'll try to answer them. This will go about 10 minutes or so, and then we'll switch the format and we'll move back. I'm looking at myself in the computer instead of the camera. Amateur mistake. But after we finish, we'll move back and we'll do our normal podcast after that. So what's up, everybody? If you don't know me yet, I'm Josh Bagriansky. Sam Franco is holding the mic. Eric Quintana filming me right now. And basically, they're helping us out with the newest edition of Talking Tactics. And I want to kind of talk a little bit today about some of the criticisms we've heard of the Atlanta United attack. I think there have definitely been some valid ones. There have definitely been the team has left a bit to be desired based on the personnel that we have. But I think some of the criticisms only kind of like scratch the surface. They're a bit vague, and we want to address maybe specifically what people are actually talking about and go to the board and just kind of let you guys know what some of the valid criticisms are you maybe maybe hearing, and maybe what are some just bland kind of hot takes that are kind of lacking in substance. So specifically what we're going to talk about today are two things. The first one is the criticism of Atlanta United for passing side to side too often. The other one is playing too slowly going forward in attack. We've heard it all season long, and I think a lot of it has to do with the way the other team is set up and leaving Atlanta United with virtually no choice but to go a little more slowly and pass the ball side to side. And we'll show you that, guys, in a sec. So I think that if you look this season, some of the specific games where we've heard criticism of Atlanta United doing those things, attacking too slowly, not creating enough chances, passing the ball side to side too much. These are the games where I heard that a lot this year. Colorado, Cincinnati, DC United, Montreal, and maybe a few others. What those games have in common is you went up against a team that didn't show a lot of attacking onus and basically went into what we call in the podcast a lot of bunker. Called a bunker, which basically means you sit back, absorb pressure behind the defense. Maybe you try to get out on the counterattack and go, but it's defense first. So what I want to do is kind of show you guys what a bunker looks like and why it's creating Atlanta United or forcing Atlanta United to play a little bit slower in attack. So basically what I look for in a bunker, if we're just going to loosely define it, is basically you have two banks. You'll hear announcers talk about two banks of four, a bank of five, a bank of four in front of the goalkeeper. So what they basically mean when they say that is you've got two low blocks defending just in front of the 18. So basically restricting space. Say Atlanta United's attacking this goal here, restricting space in the final third right here. There are a few different ways to set up, but let's look firstly at how DC United basically set up. So that game's fresh in our mind, so we can address that. So the way DC United bunkered was they basically played a back five. Sounds familiar to Atlanta United fans, although when you've seen the back five employed for Atlanta United in the past, it's not been a 100% kind of defensive focus, but it more so was for DC United. So we saw them play five across the back. Basically, the left backs might have been less listed as wing backs, but they were really playing all the way back as out-and-out full backs. And then you played three center backs through the middle. I think it was Hines, Birnbaum, and I'm forgetting one of them right now. And then you had your right and left back coming back here, maybe getting even a little more compact. So that's your first bank, okay? So you hear the two low defensive blocks or banks or whatever. That's your first one. You basically had a five-man block in front of the goalkeeper across the 18-yard box for Atlanta United attack. Then you basically had four midfielders. And again, we know the plan for DC United was they had basically trying to play with three attackers. Obviously, they had Luciano Acosta playing up top, but you also had Paul Areola and Lucas Rodriguez listed kind of as attacking midfielders, but they ended up not playing up here and playing more like back here. Okay, so a lot deeper on the field. And then you also saw two holding midfielders and Russell Canals and Junior Moreno sitting deep. So basically what happened with Areola and Rodriguez was they were supposed to be in these positions helping counterattack with Acosta. They got forced all the way back here to create this kind of bunkering defense. And we'll just say Acosta's up here kind of as the false 9. So what's the first thing that we notice about this? You can't attack that fast, right? So we hear Atlanta United's attacking too slow. They have to go with a faster tempo. Well, this sort of formation where you're just putting, again, 2 low blocks to defend is set up specifically to slow you down. And the thing is, no matter what you do, there's no way to attack this quickly whenever you want to. And why is that? We'll say Joseph Martinez is up here. Brendan Vasquez was dropping a little bit deeper. So if you're attacking forward and you want to go fast, you're going to hit these guys, and it's going to be like 2v7, 2v8, 2v9. So you can't attack fast and direct the way I think a lot of people want to, or you're just going to run into defenders, okay? So what you have to do is get guys up to these players where you can get the numbers that you need around the 18-yard box. So let's just go through the formation. So let's, you had Julian Gressel, right wing back, Justin Miram as your left wing back. Get some more magnets here. You had Nagby and Remedi through the middle, who played, I thought, both played a very, very good game in this match. And these are the ones we're going to focus on right here. So when you're going forward, and of course, Emerson Hyndman, excuse me. So you also had Emerson Hyndman playing, this is Nagby and Remedi, just in front of them right here. So if you're trying to get into the final third, and you're trying to penetrate into this area, and you just play fast direct from these guys in here, it's over. You're never going to get in behind. So what do you have to do? You've got to knock the ball around and let one of these guys get up to them, and the shape moves forward together, right? You can't do that by attacking direct. These guys are not going to get there in time. So what do? You got to play a little slower. Simple as that. You got to play a little slower so while you're in possession, you have time for these players to get up to those front 2, or you're never going to get in behind. How do you play a little bit slower? Well, obviously, it'd be nice if you could just sit on the ball and then slowly, as players move forward and get into those attacking positions. The reality is that that's not going to happen. So how are you going to make that work? I'll tell you what, you don't want to pass it back, right? You don't want to come all the way back to your back 3, although sometimes you don't have a choice. But you don't want to come back to your back 3 and have to reset the attack. So what are you going to do? You're going to pass it side to side. You're going to move the ball laterally. And as you do that, first of all, you can pull these defenders out of position because they might have to come mark you. But also, as the ball moves side to side, the shape can move forward. And then Atlanta United, obviously, that's not going to look exactly like that, but can get into those positions, and suddenly you have your numerical disadvantage is reduced a little bit. So when you hear people complaining about side-to-side passing, a lot of the reason is because Atlanta United has no choice. Because if you go vertical, once again, if you go vertical straight into this space with your players back here, ain't no way you're going to get in behind the defense 2v8, 2v7, whatever it may be. But if you hold the ball, knock it side to side, maybe knock it back a little bit, then you can slowly move your shape up together and get into these spaces right here. So I think when you hear people say side-to-side passing and slow attack are a reason for criticism, I think they're really not paying attention to the context of the way the other team is set up. Because as we just mentioned, you cannot attack a bunkering defense going fast tempo at all times. Now, I think some of the valid criticisms with respect to the tempo and the knocking the ball side to side are simple, right? So I think sometimes what you hear people say is it gets too predictable. And a big part of that, I think, is not that you're passing side to side. It's that you're passing side to side too slowly, okay? So if I'm a defender, if I'm one of the midfielders or back 5 here, and I see the ball moving across the midfield like so side to side, and it's going really slowly, right? Say we have Miram here on the left, and he's going real slow. So here's the ball. And we're taking our time, and it's moving real slow across, right? As a defender, then, all you have to do is kind of shift and turn. It's really easy to do. But when the ball goes side to side, if it's a little bit faster, if it's a little bit more unpredictable, the ball's moving, then you're much easier to lose focus, get pulled out of a position, and maybe if you get the ball fast enough, say to this side, you're going to draw these defenders away, which is going to open up space there in the final third. So when people say it's too much passing side to side, that doesn't mean anything. You need to be more specific with the tempo of the side-to-side passing. Because like I said, if it's going quickly and you're a defender, you can get pulled out of your positions, and it's going to open up space here for the attack. But if it's going slowly side to side, really predictable, then it's very easy for these guys just to sit in that bunker and wait for the pressure to come to them. So that's the main thing that I wanted to address today on Talking Tactics, is just when you're playing against two low blocks, and Atlanta United, we're not going to see that on Friday against LAFC, but that's going to happen a lot more this year. Don't pay so much attention to the direction and speed of the passing. Pay attention to the purpose and the tempo. Knocking the ball side to side is not bad. Attacking slowly is not bad. You just have to pick your spots to go fast and direct, and that's when you can score on a bunkering defense. So what we've looked at today, basically what it's going to look like when you attack a bunker. Anytime you see two low banks just in front of the 18, whether it be a block of 5 and a block of 4, or even two low blocks of 4, or we've seen a low block of 4 and then a block of 5 right in front of them. As we said, DC United went with the block of 5 and then the block of 4 in the midfield in front of them. When you see that, you have to accept that Atlanta United are not going to play as fast as we want. And it might be a little boring at times, because when a team plays like this, you have no other choice. You can't just attack right into 8-9 guys all the time. So that's it. We're going to do the podcast now. Hope you guys enjoyed Talking Tactics. This will be available like just this video on our YouTube channel, hopefully later tonight. Appreciate you guys for listening. And if you are still awake, we are going to do the proper podcast now. So let's switch the cameras around and we'll get you guys moving. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all.
Oh, it's so shaky.
This is very professionally done here.
So professional. Oh,
Dude. We need some like on hold music or something right
I
now.
don't know what's been going on here. All right. Everyone awake? We're doing the real podcast. We're doing the interesting part now. Well, thank you for watching, Jeffrey. I appreciate it, man. Jenna, you're going to barf already? Awake but nauseous. Oh, God.
Yeah, as well of that camera moving.
Oh, I see. Okay, I see.
we'll have a stand next time. I hope.
Everyone know who had the camera, right?
Hey.
NWO for
You can
life.
blame him.
Hey. All right, we ready?
Yeah.
See, already getting some love for my NWO shirt in the chat.
It was WWE soccer this Sunday.
It really was. I mean,
A
that
lot
was
of physicality.
no
A lot
doubt.
of went uncalled.
Zlatan dented a dude's skull.
Oh, yeah. All right. What's up, Atlanta? This is the Miles of South podcast brought to you by Dirty South Sock and the Palatial 680 The Fan Studios. I'm Eric Quintana. Josh Bagriansky next to me and Sam Franco in front of me. Gentlemen, coming off a big win against DC United. How are we feeling? How are we feeling today?
Great.
How's the week been?
Great.
I'm still recovering.
You've got a new job.
That's
How's
right.
that going?
That's right. It's going fantastic. Designing some T-shirts out there. So we, are working on some things. And let's just say that I'm very excited that maybe some Atlanta United products coming down the pipe.
That would be nice. I would love some shirts, Sam. No pressure. Feel free. I spent my weekend in Charlotte crossing an item off my bucket list. I'm a huge Arsenal fan, and I got to go watch them play live at Bank of America Stadium. It was amazing.
Who's Arsenal?
Right. Haha. Funny. Anyways, everyone you meet, oh, it's so great to meet another Gooner, and then slowly the conversation just spills into a depressing mess because of where the club is. But it was awesome, and then made it back for the Atlanta United game as well. So good. I thought that was a very good result considering the 11 that Atlanta United put out.
Oh, for sure. I think you came away. Even throughout the match, even before Atlanta United scored, I still think that even had they come away with a 0-0 draw, I thought, man, that's one of the better performances I've seen from Atlanta United in the attacking sense against a team that bunkered. I was going to ask Frank DeBoer, but I think someone beat me to it, or the question kind of became irrelevant at that point, about whether he felt that match against DC United was against a team that bunkered essentially the entire time, if it was one of the more positive matches, given the context. Because I thought it was. I thought the only thing I wish I'd seen is Barco in for Vasquez. I feel like having someone else there up in the middle of the mess that was the back line and the condensed midfield was someone that could really just play with the ball to speed just a little bit better than Brandon Vasquez could. Someone that could just hold up plays a little bit better than someone that could command that area a little bit better than Vasquez. Not saying, Vasquez. Look, I don't think that's his forte. That's not going to be something he's going to be called to do every match, or he should be called to do. That's just something. That's just a position he was kind of thrusted into and did the best he could. Didn't look great, but
And he
It
did
is what
score
it
a couple goals. I mean, I think what's interesting about this, and we talked about this on the radio show earlier, and you can listen every week, Wednesday, 7 p.m. on Atlanta Sports X. I think that P.T. Martinez watching Brandon Vasquez play in that role where Frank DeBoer has consistently said to P.T. Martinez, you've got to get forward, you've got to get into the box, you've got to get into more dangerous positions.
It was a kick in the butt.
He sits back and watches a player like Brandon Vasquez, who, in no disrespect to Brandon, but he's not the player that P.T. Martinez is.
Not even close.
He watches a player like that go forward and have some success just from being in dangerous positions in the box and said, man, I could really do myself a favor by going and getting 3 or 4 easy goals like I did against DC United, and then the more difficult stuff that we expect from him, the trickier stuff, more highlight reel stuff that he does will open up.
Yeah, I think more than anything with Vasquez, we just kind of discovered that he's a very limited player, and he's playing out of necessity right now due to injuries and things like that. But, fully healthy Barco back and, Pitti moving kind of back out to being that wide player. I mean, yeah, Brandon Vasquez's opportunities are going to be way more few and far between, with a healthier squad. And look, ultimately, again, it's not a knock on him. It's just that he's, very limited in some of the things that he can do. And when you're asking him to do a lot more than what might be required from his normal skill set, yeah, I mean, he struggled at times. He turns the ball over a lot. He's a heavy touch guy. I mean, it's just one of those things where
heavy touch guy.
I mean, it is what it is.
It is what it is. You're right. You're right.
Look, he was a heavy touch guy too. But anyways, can we say?
Got to get that shot in there on TV.
I did. I had to. Can we say this was the best 20 minutes or so of Pitti Martinez in the Atlanta United uniform?
I don't necessarily know that because I think he's played. I think there was much more of a microscope on him for that 20 minutes, and he definitely stepped up to the plate big time. But I don't necessarily know because I thought he was starting to play a lot better in that out wide role when Barco was playing as the number 10.
Yeah,
so
he missed him.
Yeah, and I'll say this: he needed to have that 20 minutes for sure. Like at this point, because of everything that's happened, I think he definitely stepped in and really played well when the team needed him to. And I think as well, this whole situation with him and Frank DeBoer might have sort of woken him up a little bit. And also the team, and when I say the team, I mean DeBoer and Pitti and really anybody around the team. They've handled it really well since the radio interview that Pitti did. I think everything was handled in-house. I think, there was probably a talk between the two where they both admitted they could have handled things better. And now they've moved on. And there wasn't really any discipline because, quite frankly, I don't think there was really a need for discipline in this
both parties, I mean, considering how bad it could have been, I thought that both parties kind of handled it pretty well.
Perfectly. I mean, because it died.
The
story died.
It could have really gotten out of hand.
It could have snowballed. It could have become something much bigger than it was, but it didn't. And now Pitti has come in, played well in these 20 minutes. So what we need to see now is the consistency.
Yeah, well, you know that it was handled well because a week later, P.T. Martinez was on the bench in place of Brandon Vasquez and didn't say a word, and then came on and like you said, Eric, I think from an impact standpoint, definitely his best 20 minutes of the season.
So I look at the time that he did spend on the field, and obviously there's so much more to focus on than just Pitti, but he's obviously
that's all we talk about.
The biggest story of 2018 or 2019 right now. But so you look at the first goal, the run he makes. That's not a run he makes before Sunday.
That's what Josh was saying too. It's like
that's not
with Frank DeBoer being like, dude, you got to go, man. You've got to be more aggressive.
The power of the note, man.
The note.
So yeah, I think the note specifically said, get into the box, get into more of an attacking role, get into basically. I feel like the message was, go score, dude. Go do something effective.
Yeah, we brought you here to attack. Go do it.
He went on to make runs forward, and
so
I mean,
to see him make a run like that, it makes me, because this is like the I want to say the most unselfish, because I mean he doesn't make that run before Sunday. He doesn't shield the ball and then play that pass to Martinez over the top very often. That we've never seen both those moves. We haven't seen from Pitti Martinez. We've seen him mess up the second one, but we haven't seen him make that run into the box. We haven't seen him take on, attack a ball in the air. We haven't seen him attack a ball, I think, period. We've seen him, try to defend, if you want to call that
the run. Well, it's just not his style of play. Is not to defend it a lot, but the run he made when we were watching it before we went on the show, and you brought up, Eric, that it came from pretty deep, from well outside of the box. So, I mean, that's a big part of his game. And I know it sounds crazy that he hasn't really made that run all year, but think of one time that the ball, I mean, I can think of a couple.
I could be wrong on that, but I didn't believe it was.
How many times this year has the ball been squared across the face of goal to P.T. Martinez? Very, very few times. And for a player that's playing,
honestly, anybody but Joseph, how many times does that happen?
Yeah, and there's got to be someone else to get into those positions. So, like, I mean, we saw Tito be that guy last season, and some other guys sharing the role. P.T. just has to be that player this year where you're going to have, it can't be just Joseph making runs into the box. He needs to come from somewhere.
It's funny, too, because when you're looking at that play, it wasn't just Pitti doing something that is out of the ordinary for us as people watching the game. It's like, this is something he hasn't done before. Darlington Nagbe started to do that, too, in getting forward.
Yeah.
And that was a big part of the goal, too. Like, Nagbe bursting forward into the box like that is not something we have seen. And I'm not sure if that was a directive from DeBoer or not for him to be more aggressive. But, obviously he scored his first goal a few games ago, and now he has this beautiful moment where he bursts into the box and is able to put in just a perfect cross. And luckily, it was just two things that we're not used to seeing, but as fans have wanted to see these players be more aggressive in the attack. And they're doing it.
It's that. I mean, that run starts from outside the box, and it's that anticipation of that pass being there, of putting himself in a dangerous position. Something, again, we've seen him float around the 18-yard box, and seemingly he's not doing anything to really attack the ball. He's more in a passive role where he's waiting for the ball to come to him, and then he's going to do something with the ball. This is him going to the ball. The other aspect of this is that this is, I think, the first time we've seen, and someone correct me if there's a better moment of this. This is the first time we've seen, I think, Pitti Martinez and Joseph Martinez in perfect sync, where Pitti knows what Joseph is going to do. Pitti knows that Joseph is going to make that run. Pitti knows that he can lob this over the top and Joseph's going to run onto it. Now, it benefits Atlanta United that DC's in a position where they have to get forward and they have to try to get one to equalize. But nonetheless, we haven't seen I don't think we've seen Joseph and Pitti in sync like that all season.
It was vision and decisiveness that we haven't seen from Pitti in terms of making that kind of pass. The ability to see that Joseph was in a very good position. The defenders were very vulnerable at that time. And for him to kind of make that decision quickly, that's one of the things that we've sort of had a knock. Barco was the guy who we knocked last season for not being quick enough in his decision making. I think Pitti has kind of absorbed a little bit of that too, not necessarily making these decisions quickly enough. And that was one where it had to be made in the exact instance because of the possibility of Joseph being offside. But the ball was played in a perfect onside position to Joseph. So again, it's that vision and decisiveness and quick decision making to do that.
I agree. And if you look at the game as a whole, because I think this is, when we talk about the Joseph Pitti connection, that wasn't there for the last 20 minutes. I don't understand the credit. I mean, the team was getting raked over the coals in the first 65, 70 minutes. But you didn't
play well.
Yeah, and you didn't have that connection on the field between Pitti and whether that has worked this season or not. Brendan Vasquez and Joseph Martinez is not the connection of a Pitti and a Joseph. And you're playing Miram at left wing back where he's never going to play again. You're playing it against a team that's bunkering and have some very good counterattacking talent, as we saw. I mean, with Acosta, Areola, and Rodriguez, that can really expose you when you kind of push up the pitch and get caught forward. Handled that, the possibility of the counterattack very well, controlled possession. Hamid made 2 huge saves in the first half. And look, I don't think it was realistic to expect Atlanta United to create a ton of quality chances against a good DC United defense that was not showing any attacking onus when you're not playing your 2 most creative players in Barco and P.T. Martinez. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Well,
I don't understand why people thought it was such a poor performance up to that point.
See, I don't think it was. You really tested Bill Hamid. How many big saves did he come up with?
Well, in the first half, 2 huge ones. Yeah. And then there was a moment where Vasquez probably should have done better, where Nagbe probably should have done better. You didn't have the attacking quality that you wanted in the last third, but you were getting into dangerous positions enough where I think the performance was decent. And 2, based on who you had on the pitch, you couldn't really expect so much attacking quality that you were going to create opportunities against a back 5.
Right. So I actually give credit to Frank DeBoer and Atlanta United. They almost forced, I want to say almost too much, But I like the idea of almost forcing things into the middle of the attacking third, so you weren't so dependent on lobbing crosses into the box against the monstars of center backs for DC United. I was happy to see that. Again, that's the one area of this match where I was like, I would have loved to see Barco there, even Pity, because well, Pity I think still hasn't proved that aspect of his game, but Barco, at least we've seen that he can, in those tight spaces, hold the ball and distribute, do something. Pity, I think, at least for me, still hasn't proved something in that specific realm of the game with Atlanta.
But we know that he has the ability to do it.
He certainly has the ability, but that Frank de Boer and Atlanta United decided they were going to attack, because again, DC United has been pretty clear that what they're going to do is force Atlanta United outside. Essentially, every time they play, force Atlanta United outside and just lob crosses into the box as often as they can. So that wasn't the case with this. They created a bunch of opportunities. They forced Bill Hamid to make some great saves. You had some incredible good luck and good goalkeeping from Brad Guzan to kind of keep it 0-0 going into
the first half. DC had a couple of chances.
Yeah, no, it could, and that could have fully changed the momentum of the game, and it could have really been a downer for Atlanta United if either of those chances go in. But as much as people have been down on Brad Guzan about the last couple of matches where you've let in 1 million goals over the last 3 matches or something like that, it's good to see him step up in those moments to keep Atlanta United and to keep the momentum on Atlanta's side. Because that we've seen that play out before, where Atlanta, all the possession, gives up a counter. There goes all the momentum. Now you got to rebuild all that energy, rebuild the attack, and on top of that, you're down a goal. Thankfully, that didn't happen here. I was happy with the overall performance.
Yeah,
even had it gone to, I would have been happy with the result had it gone to a draw, but
especially with the missed penalty.
Sure, yeah, I would have been happy with how the attack came about.
And I would have come in here and said, look, you were something that never happens. So Joseph Martinez missed penalty away from getting 3 points against a very good team. And I think when you compare the first half to the second half, and talk about DC bunkering, a lot of that was Atlanta United forcing them back, controlling the game. I don't think Ben Olsen came necessarily into the match with the intentions of sitting back. He still started Paul Arriola, Lucas Rodriguez, Luciano Acosta, 3 pretty good attacking players that can help you counter.
Well, I think
and it ended up
he thought he was going to have Rooney.
Right, that's true. That's true. But I think when Rooney's gone, I don't think you necessarily start in that shape with those 3 if you're looking to completely sit back. So in the first half, it didn't look like as much of kind of a out-and-out bunker. In the second half, it did. And I think a lot of the reason that is that Atlanta United controlled the game to the point where Ben Olsen said, all right, we've got to get behind the ball or we're going to concede. So you have to give a lot of credit to a very, very much thrown together Atlanta United 11 in attack in particular for forcing DC United's hand and forcing a very good team to basically say, okay, and I know Wayne Rooney wasn't there, but you forced them to say, okay, we just got to get behind the ball and try to hold on for 0-0.
Yeah, I also think they were trying to break down that bunker, really well in terms of getting a lot of the passes from the wings. I mean, again, we know that Miram isn't going to be playing left wing back very often, but I thought he and Gressel both were doing pretty good at trying to get balls in, because that's one of the things you got to do against a bunker. Sometimes you can't attack them through the middle. You got to get the ball into the box somehow, and I think they did a pretty good job, all things considered, doing that. It just, again, they just weren't putting the final product together until late in the game.
And like I said, I don't know why that was so unexpected for some people, where you're starting 2 players in positions that they'll never play again. Miram said, I've never played left wing back in my life. And I don't think Brandon Vasquez is one to drop deep underneath the striker and start. I mean, so the expectations were maybe too high, and that's why you've got to be thrilled, I think, with the end result.
This is a match where Frank de Boer could have easily used the excuse of, well, everyone's injured. I got to play Pity. I got to play Barco, in one way or the other. I'm glad he didn't play Barco because of how physical that game was. I think that was pretty clear early on that again, I call it WWE soccer. I think for most of the first half, because of how aggressive both teams were. And props up to both teams, for Atlanta and DC United, for not letting that get out of hand.
Yeah,
there were certain moments in the first half where I was like, oh man, this could be really ugly. I didn't think it was going to end with 22 guys on the field.
It was all professional fouls. It didn't seem like it got overly chippy. It was just physical.
Yeah, really physical. And so props to Frank DeBoer for not playing Barco when he absolutely could have. Props for Frank DeBoer for not playing Pitti when he absolutely had every excuse to play Pitti.
Because on Wednesday against Houston last week, it was like, okay, he's off with a 3-4 day rest from Seattle, and he played pretty well in that Seattle match. And then he keeps him on the bench again, and you realize this is a little more tactical than just squad rotation, and that clearly sent the message loud and clear to P.T. Martinez.
This is the second game we see the 3-5-2?
I believe this is the second game, yeah.
So
yes, Houston was the first, yeah.
Now, it's mainly because we have no left back right now, but how do we feel about the 3-5-2 overall?
It's a big question. I mean, I've been a huge proponent for the 3-5-2 starting last May when we first saw it. I think it suits, even with Miguel Almiron gone, I think it suits the roster you have right now because you have, Julian Gressel at right wing back. That's his best position on the pitch. I think P.T. Martinez playing underneath the Joseph Martinez, that removes the defensive responsibility that you were just talking about earlier, Eric. Ezequiel Barco can play as that kind of highest attacking midfielder because he shares a lot of the qualities with Miguel Almiron, where he can go box to box, he can come back and make defensive recoveries. And then, of course, we already know based on this season and certainly last year that defensively you're a little bit more solid in the back 3, back 5. So I just think it puts, just like last year, it slides guys into their best spots. It probably leaves Tito as the odd man out if he gets back healthy. And it also allows you to be a little more solid defensively. That being said, I don't want to get married to the 3-5-2 at this point. And we've seen 3-4-3 earlier this season.
Is it specifically because of who Atlanta United plays next? Or is that more reason to stick in the 3-5-2?
So, and this is the same thing I said last year. I think you play both formations, see what works best for you. It makes you incredibly hard to prepare for if you can play a back 3 or a back 4, or if you can switch in the middle of the second half to a back 3 or a back 4. Very difficult to deal with for the opposition. And when you get to the postseason, then you probably see which one you're going to ride with. But I like the 3-5-2, like I said, because I think the personnel fall into place. I didn't like the 3-4-3 earlier in the season because you're only playing the 2 center midfielders as opposed to the 3. That player was Emerson Hyndman. He's the 3rd midfielder in a 3-5-2. But you've got to kind of wait and see which one is going to be best, because we mentioned this on the radio show, guys. If you play a 3-5-2, you have a lot of decisions to make. Tito probably can't play. Then you have to choose between maybe sitting Hyndman, who's been so good in that position that Barco is going to slide into, or do you play Barco underneath the striker and sit PT? I mean, there's a potential. A lot of your creative attacking talent has to sit on the bench. So I'd like to see 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3 employed as well.
Frank DeBoer specifically talked about how, when in regards to Pitti, how he needs to make his job difficult in terms of who he starts and who he chooses for the starting 11, who he plays, who he doesn't play. I think that obviously Sunday night was a great first step. I think, Sam, you already hit it. Consistency is key moving forward. It's a great 20 minutes, but what can you do consistently over the course of 90 is what really is going to get to me. Like I as down as I've been on Pitti, this is the first time I'm like, all right, I've got hope now.
Because according to
I've got some hope now.
According to Eric, he was never going to play. He was going to get benched after his comments that we went on about a couple weeks ago.
Freezing cold takes me to come back on that one.
The blame Eric trade might have helped us on that one.
Let's be real before. We've seen history play that go
You're right.
A completely different direction.
But again, this wasn't really like a disciplinary thing, though. Like for me, this was more of just Pitti was up. I mean, I think honestly, what happened here is Frank DeBoer might have realized, because he's a pretty pragmatic guy. I think maybe behind the scenes he might have realized, yeah, I probably shouldn't have called the kid out and then not went and talked to him. Like I think Pitti,
and at the same time, Pitti was like,
and Pitti probably realized too, I could have done this better. So that's what I'm talking about. When they went together and talked, they buried the hatchet very quickly, very professionally, and moved on.
So did we chalk this up to, I'm 99% sure that Tata is staying in Atlanta United? Is it the same level?
Well, you actually said 99% sure that time, so you didn't say that this time. So
I said I don't think he's gonna.
Right.
I was sure that was it. I was sure that was it for Pitti.
Well, I wasn't totally sure. I was only 99%.
Because again, we've seen that in sports in general, and that never ends well for the player.
One of the things we did say, and obviously we just want to lambast Eric whenever we can, but being a little more.
Give people the hashtag.
Hashtag blame Eric for those that don't know.
Someone made a sign.
There's a sign floating around Mercedes-Benz Stadium So I love that. I got to find that sign, get a photo with it. Now I forgot what I was talking about.
99% sure, thought it was staying.
Anyways,
So Frank DeBoer talked about how
man, I had something smart to say too. I bet.
Pity needs to make his job difficult. This obviously is a good first step for Pity Martinez, and it leads to discussion of. Do you remember?
Yes, I want to speculate about something. Okay, so it was handled behind the scenes, right? It was weird to us that PT sat against DC United when he was fully fit. Maybe Frank DeBoer said, "I'm going to start you against Seattle. It's a big game. We need you, but it will be way too much. You know, I've got to do something." But obviously, it'll be too much distraction in the media if you're sitting the next game. I'll sit you for Houston because it'll appear like squad rotation, and then DC United is the one where you're really going to take your quote-unquote punishment. Speculation.
Man, do you think coaches really, and players for that matter, really care what care that much what's being said in the media?
I think more because it become a distraction for the
I'm not
team.
saying you're wrong. I'm just wondering if
I think the South American press would go crazy after that. You know,
some
if he
players
was
are more
benched the
sensitive
next
than
game.
others.
Oh, they're not getting along. So because I thought it was so weird to me that he sat behind Brandon Vasquez in a match where he was fully healthy, fully rested, had a week off.
So it might have been unspoken discipline.
Or maybe he just or explained to him like,
I still don't
got to
think it
do
was discipline.
some. Yeah, and I don't know, but maybe he said because it's so weird to me. He was sitting in that mat that he didn't start. Maybe he just was saying, "Look, we're going to rest you for Houston." That was kind of always the plan. But if I drop you right away for Seattle, this circus is gonna blow up times 100.
Well, here's a thought. Maybe Frank is, smarter than the average bear, so to speak, and realized that
knows how to handle the media.
Well, I'm just A, knows how to handle the media, and B, knows how to handle his players. Maybe he kind of saw, maybe if I do start Brandon in this game, it will light a fire under Pity. I mean, if that's the case, it worked.
Yeah, and one of the things we said was we're going to be able to tell how this situation is resolved based on his on-field performance. We're not going to speculate. Well, I just did speculate. What am I talking about? But we're not going to say this is definitely what happened behind the scenes. But we're going to have a better idea of what happened behind the scenes based on his play. And despite the fact that he sits 2 matches in a row behind Brandon Vasquez, you see him come off the bench with a lot of enthusiasm, that kind of new element to his game, like you were talking about, getting into the box. So, I mean, I think that we've seen, even though we don't know what specifically was said, quite clearly this was handled very well behind the scenes.
So the thing that gives me hope for Pity with Atlanta United is, one, the 20 minutes that we see out of him. That gives me like something to build off of. I feel like I hadn't seen enough of
because you're not sold yet. I heard you talking about this earlier.
Not 100%.
You are not sold on PT.
So this is so I need to see more of this 20 minutes over the course of a 90-minute match consistently.
Yeah, you just
Number one, which
asking.
no, but I mean, like, let's be real. This is 20 minutes we're talking about. This is 20 minutes.
Never good enough.
2 moments for Pity Martinez, and 2 moments that happened real close to each other. So if you look at the whole season and you want to focus on these 2 moments, that's a bad way of looking at Pity's career so far with Atlanta United. Now, if you want to forget about the past and look at Pity these 20 minutes for Pity and then move forward, fine. That's something you can build off. That's something you can say, okay, well, this is how he did contribute. This is the first time we've seen, or at least that I can remember, Joseph and Pity in sync. Like we saw Almiron and Joseph in sync last year. This is the first time we've seen him attack the ball versus him be much more passive. Those are 2 things to build off. Those are great moments for Pity that you can. That's something he can aspire to do more of.
Mm-hmm. So
and he's seen it, he's done it, he knows what it feels like, and he knows, he's got a better idea of maybe what it's supposed to look like if that was an issue.
I don't disagree. I mean, I think he obviously needs to be more consistent, and we've said it all year. I mean, regardless, there have been people saying, that he's lazy and things like that, which I think is way over the top. But we all agree he needs to play better. But I think that we saw flashes of this before those last 20 minutes. I thought
absolutely.
If you went back to the St. Louis Open Cup match, and granted it was St. Louis, coached by Lewis's son parking the bus, but he played well in that match. And then he played well in that Seattle match where basically everybody else was poor on the field. So
you said Tony Pulis' son with like such disdain.
Well, how could you say Tony Pulis' name in a positive light? I mean, I like soccer and he doesn't. He likes to play a 10-0-0
tangent.
Yeah, anyways.
I like soccer. He doesn't.
Yeah. Kenny went on at Stoke on a Tuesday night. But anyways, so I think the big thing is this was coming with PT, right? In my opinion, I think when I looked at the St. Louis match, and obviously it was not, like I said, not great comp, but played well against Seattle in a match where no one else on the pitch played well. So I think it's been a little more than just 20 minutes. I think the consistency has started to come in over the last 250 minutes or so that he's played.
So this is the biggest flash, I'd say.
Yes, absolutely.
Of what he's been able to show.
I mean, you get a goal and assist. Yeah,
exactly.
The end product is there.
And I'm not saying he needs to, a goal and assist every match, but what I need to see is him contribute a little more than I think he's contributed in the past in creating dangerous opportunities. And again, I'll repeat it just because these are the two moments I can think of. In clearly being in sync with Joseph Martinez. And look, the thing I love is that the players are clearly behind him. You look at Joseph's reaction; it's like they're best friends.
The stuff with Miram after the match.
That's the other thing that I love. That gives me hope about Pity Martinez is that the players clearly haven't given up on him. I don't think the fans have given up on him. No, the reaction of his substitution. So it gives me. Again, I'm not completely sold on him now, but I'll definitely backtrack I have no idea how he fits his team thing I said a month ago.
Hashtag backtrack Eric.
Hey, look, opinions change.
Yeah, no, of course.
And look, he still technically does have to prove that he can do this regularly.
I totally agree.
Flashes every other game, every third game. That's not going to do it. That's not enough to pay what you paid for Pity Martinez and justify that amount. You got to do it on a consistent basis. You got to be able to show that you yourself, the whatever $1 million man, is one, worth the money, and two, is going to be a game changer for this team. You're not replacing Albion. You're not going to do that. But you still have to contribute in a way that you change the game, that you change the way other teams look at you. And he doesn't do that. Now, in these 20 minutes, he did it. Mm-hmm. Teams all of a sudden had to be like, all right, well, where's Pity for 20 minutes? Let's see how that works out over the course of 90 games on a regular basis.
I got sidetracked but can he do it on a Tuesday night in Stoke, like the dumbest thing a soccer coach has ever said?
And it has to do with Tony Pulis, so
he butters it under his breath.
Anything to do with Stoke is dumb. There's a reason they're referred to as the Orcs. But
can he do it on a Tuesday night at Stoke?
Yeah, but and PT did it on a Tuesday night in Kennesaw, and that's what kicked off this great form.
Absolutely.
I think
Tony Pulis and his son. It all comes full circle.
We're going to learn a lot more. When we talk about is this coming from him Friday against LAFC? A
big match for him for sure.
That's a big match for the team. There are a lot of players on Atlanta United who need to prove that it's still a championship caliber roster.
Before we, this is not necessarily diverting to LAFC, but can we talk about the PK miss for Joseph Martinez?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Because that was how many people were like pooping their pants.
Have you seen the one?
I was furious.
I wasn't upset, but look, the hop, and I think you tried to convince me on the radio show that it wasn't an abnormal hop for Joseph, but that was he was on a trampoline.
No, that was a higher hop.
He was on a trampoline.
That was very much a exaggerated hop.
I think the fact that he seemingly hasn't done it, and I don't have the numbers in front of me how often. I don't remember him doing it maybe but once this season so far. And I don't know how many PKs he's actually taken this year. But the point is that he hasn't done it in a while. I feel like he over-exaggerated that jump, thinking that's how it was supposed to look.
I do keep seeing this in our comments. Should the kick have been retaken?
Technically, yeah, but come on.
He
was off his line.
He was off the line.
I'm all for equality, so I say yes. The kick should have been retaken.
I'm just saying.
Nice of you.
Oh. I forgot about that with the Women's World Cup.
No, look, ultimately, I don't care that he missed it because
they won the game.
13 out of 15. That's as automatic as a really good free thrower. So.
And despite what Taylor Twellman wants to tell us, that it's so easy, you just state. I don't know why people think it's so easy to
hop on and goal, Taylor.
Come on, as many, and it worked. I know it was an exaggerated hop, and the execution wasn't great. Bill Hamid went the wrong way.
Well, Twellman's great.
Joseph just missed the frame of goal.
Twellman's great because I thought he was so good calling El Tráfico the other night. And then, from what I've heard from this game, it's like...
I like Twellman, but I thought that was a weird...
You could spend the entire time crapping on a player. The guy scores the game-winning goal, and he finds a way to talk about how he's been amazing the entire game. Somehow he can flip that on a dime.
When Zlatan scored that first goal in El Tráfico, I thought he was going to, nominate Zlatan for, king of the world.
Yeah,
he was
they love Zlatan score. But I was glad that, there wasn't a huge backlash about the missed penalty, except from people who maybe hadn't seen that's how he takes a lot of his pens, that he makes them. Because we've always talked about it. Well, Zach
I'll call you out, Zach Klein.
He literally just came up in the comments right when you said that. That was really weird for me.
Yes, yeah, Zach Klein, who is a
I'll
local
call you
guy,
out, buddy.
of course, fantastic coverage from him, but you should know better because you make all of those. And we've always talked about it, right? He's going to miss one eventually, and when he does, it's going to look really silly because you can do the hop thing and miss, and it's going to look silly. You got to take him to miss him.
To his credit, that is pretty much what he said, but he made it seem like he's made every single
right.
one. And
no, I mean,
he hasn't taken it like that pretty much all season.
That penalty has been semi-viral, where it's like, you won't believe this penalty missed, but I'd like to show those other people the 7 or 8
that he made.
And
absolutely.
The 2 that Joseph missed are LA Galaxy last year, and then this one. LA Galaxy last year was off the post, and this one's over the goal. So
neither
the keepers
of which really affected the score.
Yeah, so the outcome. And that also. So the keepers have not saved any of his penalties. They're not getting anywhere close to it. The hop works. The hop works.
Well, the hop works for Joseph.
Prop to the hop.
Yeah, most of the time.
Don't try that at home, kids.
Hashtag prop to the hop.
Yeah, if one of my players tries a hop penalty, I'm cutting him on the spot. If any of you hear that, you're cut on the spot. If you
hear that, Josh's players trying to hop.
Yeah, I remember.
Prop to the hop.
I remember one time a coach pulled me out of a Little League baseball game because I tried to make the catch. You know how Andrew Jones used to really like nonchalantly just throw his glove up, like not use the other hand to guide it in. I tried to do that and let the ball drop, and I don't think I played for like a week.
Oh, yeah. That'll happen. No, so the other point I wanted to make with the PK is that, look, that happened 70th minute, I believe, 71st minute. That could have easily taken the wind out of the sails of Atlanta United and all the momentum.
It kind of did for like 10 minutes after that.
It definitely took it out of the crowd.
I was going to say, it took the wind out of it for a minute, and then I think the team rebounded well.
So, yeah, to overcome, that's the one thing I like to see out of that, to not give up a goal right after that, because that really would have done it in. But to overcome that miss, to get over it, the fact that you didn't see Joseph really overly frustrated, which is, yes, exactly, sulk, which not that he does often, but he does do it.
He does sulk sometimes.
And he had a couple chances in the first half saved. I mean, there was
really
a lot of reason to be frustrated.
He really could have been down, and so to get over that, to overcome that adversity, and to ultimately come away victors, that's great. Second place for Atlanta United, 36 points. Philadelphia Union went first place with 39. I think Atlanta United's got a game in hand on the Union.
Yeah, they do.
So, look, Atlanta United's got a tough stretch of games. You got to get.
We've got the 2 LA teams coming up the next 2
I mean, how great would a draw be this week?
I'll take a draw. And the performance.
I'll take anything that we can get.
Look, you have to accept. I mean, even I think if Atlanta United were playing at their full capacity, going to LA to play LAFC, you're not going to be the favorites. I mean, even if you're playing the way that we expect them to, LAFC are that good and they're playing at home.
If anything, you could see a complete reversal of how Atlanta United played against DC United, where Atlanta United is the one bunkering and LAFC is taking it to
That's what I'm going to look for, right? So if we see a 3-5-2 in this game, and it turns into a back 5, LAFC are dictating, and basically you see Gressel and whoever the left wing back is, God knows, Parkhurst, whoever. You see those players forced all the way back alongside the 3 center backs, and all 3 center mids push back. You are being forced back into a shell by LAFC.
We could even see it as early as an hour before with the lineup. If Hyman's not in for whatever reason,
that's going to be the big one to look for.
If it's more Lorenowitz, Nagby, and Eric Rometti,
yeah.
I mean that'll tell you right there that they probably. This is the game where I wish Tito Bijango was healthy, because I feel like it's going to be that open where he could very well run on the
wide open.
You can play balls over the top to him,
especially if you're sitting back.
Exactly,
yeah.
Spread the game out a little bit, spread out LAFC. Because look, Atlanta, I don't think it's safe to say they have not played. Maybe Monterrey. Monterrey. No.
Well, I don't know. You haven't said what you're talking
So
about.
a team with this kind of a team with this kind of.
What's he doing?
A team with this kind
That's
of.
why I was confused. He was like looking at me. I'm like, I don't know what you want me to say.
What am I about to say?
A team this tough in terms of attacking prowess, in terms of guys that have a lot of skill on the ball in the final third. LAFC is that team. So outside of Monterrey, I don't know who else they played. LA United in their history have played that have that matched up against what LAFC is right now.
I mean, this is, other than Monterrey, this is the second best side you've played in the regular season, in my opinion, without a doubt. I mean, you look at what LAFC are doing. I mean, they've won one of their last 3, but those 2 losses, they only had 1 loss the rest of the year. So I mean, they're a really, really strong team. And I want to go back to what you mentioned with the midfield, Eric, and try to talk about read the tactics what they're going to be when we see the 11 come out. A big one is who are the 3 center midfielders going to be, because it could be, I think Nagby and Rometti is pretty pretty safe.
Really, the discussion is between Loretto.
Who's the other one going to be? Or Barco. So you could, if you see,
would you expect him to start though?
I would not expect it.
Okay.
No, and if he does, then I think it's more of a 4-back, and he's playing out wide as a.
I think the possibility is there for him to start because
he
didn't. If the plan was to get him minutes against DC and it didn't happen,
Yeah.
that tells me that he's fit enough to play.
Maybe he can't go 90, but he goes 60 or 70.
Yeah, Frank DeBoer did say that the plan was to get him 15, 20 minutes against DC United, but the game was just too physical that he didn't want to risk.
Right. So if you see Barco starting as the center mid, that would be in front of Nagbe and Remedi. That to me would mean, okay, Frank DeBoer is going to try to go for this. He's going to try to attack. It's going to be a wide open game. If you see Laurentowicz as that third, that would mean Laurentowicz and Remedi probably sitting, and Nagbe as the highest center mid, and he's going to play much deeper. Obviously, that means you're probably going to play a little more defensively.
Although you say that, but we have seen Nagbe push forward.
Absolutely,
recently, so maybe,
absolutely.
But it's more the combination of the three.
It's it's basically deciding what the highest point of the triangle midfield is going to be. And if it's Emerson Heineman, then it's kind of a little bit of an in-between because he can come back and get the ball, but he's also a guy that can get forward and distribute it to the guys going forward. So depending on the center midfield trio, and it's good, I think, again, we assume Nagbe and Remedi, but do you see Laurentowicz? That means it's going to be super falling into a shell with Nagbe as your highest midfielder. If it's going to be Heineman with Nagbe and Remedi behind them, that's going to be kind of more of a neutral plan of attack. And if it's Barco in front of those two, that means it's YOLO. Let's go after it. And let's win a 5-4 match.
So I just want to know how I can watch this game with the Max Bretos call.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Is that
It's
the worst goal call of all time? In case you've missed what LAFC has done so far this season, 21 matches played, 14 wins, 4 draws, 3 losses, 55.
Give him that goal difference.
55 goals, 4-20 against.
What on earth?
That's a 35 goal differential.
Plus 35
on 46 points in the season.
They're scoring.
Yeah.
It'd be a shock if they didn't win Supporter Shield. To give you an idea of who is next in terms of goal differential, it's a tie between Atlanta United and NYCFC.
Huh? And that can't be that high, can? What are those?
10 apiece.
Plus 10.
Wow.
So we're talking about a difference of 25 goals.
Yeah, parity.
So they're one of the better
for LAFC.
They're one of the better defensive teams, and look, they've given up the least amount of goals in the league. Yeah. So not only are they really good in scoring, they're also good at defending. So they have. I don't know if they faced a team like Atlanta United that, at least on paper, is one of the better defensive teams in the league. So we'll see how that pans out. And again, their kryptonite is Zlatan, so maybe Atlanta United can find a way to channel their inner Zlatan.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Maybe Zlatan broke LAFC. We will
Fingers
not
crossed, right?
That's what I'm saying. Like maybe his just like life force absorbed LAFC after he scored a hat trick on them. And
that would be nice. That would be nice. But one thing, maybe their confidence will be low, but those guys are going to come out on fire. I mean, they're embarrassed by what happened, I think, against the Galaxy. And
especially the way that Zlatan talked all that crap and then delivered on them.
Yeah,
I mean that's embarrassing.
Classic Zlatan. So if I'm LAFC and then your very next match is at home against the defending champs on national television on Friday night, you've been circling these 2 weeks on your calendar for a long time. You got embarrassed last week. So LAFC, I mean, hopefully they'll be low on confidence, like you said, but they're going to come out really looking to take the game to Atlanta United. And we've talked, one thing for Atlanta United has been conceding early goals, not having focus in the first 5 minutes. If you come out unfocused against this team, you'll be very lucky not to be down 1, even 2 goals early on, because they are that good going forward with a Carlos Vela and Diego Rossi.
The environment that Atlanta United are also walking into is typically an environment that that favors Atlanta United. That's not going to be the case at LAFC, where their environment rivals, some would argue, is even better than Atlanta United's. So we'll see. We'll see how they handle the situation. We'll see how they handle the environment. We'll see how they handle going up against the goal-scoring leader in Carlos Vela. Look, there's again, I'll say it. This is certainly the best MLS team Atlanta United has faced in their history, and I don't know that this is necessarily I can say for a fact this is not the best Atlanta United side we've seen over the course of the 2.5 years.
So did you say this is the best team Atlanta United's ever played in the league?
Oh, for sure.
I think so. I mean,
sure.
and I think a lot of that has to do
I was trying to do that in my head.
I think LAFC right now is what the Red Bulls want to be.
Maybe go beat Toronto.
You see how we struggle against the Red Bulls. They just the difference between Red Bulls and LAFC. I understand there's massive difference.
Organizational.
And maybe you go back to Toronto in 2017, but really it's a trend.
But what I'm talking about is just style of play in general. The way the LAFC is going to come out and try to press Atlanta United. That's a lot like what the Red Bulls like to do. But on top of that, as soon as they turn you over, the LAFC has such gifted attacking players that I mean they can do essentially whatever they want in the final third. Now we've seen where they're deficient against Latin, but outside of that, I mean, look, the last two matches for or the last three they've only won one in the last one in the last three matches. That last results are pulling it up.
Oh, they got scolded by Zlatan.
So 3-2 loss to LA Galaxy. Then the week before that, 3-1 win against the Houston Dynamo, and a couple days before that, the 1-0 loss against Portland. So this is
so I guess to be fair, I guess I said that.
So that's the U.S. Open Cup.
It's in all competitions. So that they lost those two matches. So.
Beat Vancouver 6-1.
Yeah, 2 of their 3 league matches.
Beat Sporting KC 5-1. Colorado beat them somehow.
Yeah, how the hell did that?
Colorado finds a way to just mystify.
Hunter Casey is a genius, but I mean, you look at score lines like that, and it's like, I mean, this again. You could have said 2017 Toronto was the best MLS team ever. You could have said 2018 Atlanta.
This is
you
the
could
best
say
team.
when this is all said and done, if this team wins the league, I think they take the cake.
I mean,
it really just
technically,
points to
2018 Red Bulls are the best team in MLS.
Yeah, right. How'd that work out? Chris Armas blew it.
The one thing I will say that I hate for LAFC and their fans that the playoff format changed, because this team easily is winning MLS Cup.
Yeah.
Is easily at the very least is easily the favorites.
But now in a one-off scenario,
you never know. I mean, you lost to Colorado.
I remember Atlanta
anything could happen.
Atlanta lost their first playoff game at home pretty. I don't know, heavily favored, but favored over Columbus Crew, and that was a one-off.
By the same token, maybe you say if you've got home field advantage throughout the playoffs, there's much less of a chance that you drop maybe a first leg, like a surprising result, pull a Red Bulls, like I said, leg one at Atlanta next year. So I think there's two sides to that, that maybe, if they're, and then we assume they're going to lock down that number 1 seed in the West, it actually plays into their hands a little bit. But at the same time, anything can happen in just 90 minutes, as we saw when they lost to RSL at home last year in the first round.
Everyone's watching. Well, as the neutral and across the nation, everyone will be watching. Everyone who is watching soccer on Friday night at 10 o'clock on the East Coast. They'll be watching Carlos Vela versus Joseph Martinez.
Back-to-back Friday night 10 o'clock games that I'm going to be watching. Because what the Tropico's was a Friday night, too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Anyways, you've got Carlos Vela with 21 goals. Zlatan and Joseph tied for 16 apiece. The amazing thing about Carlos Vela is that he's not just scoring, but he's also creating a lot of chances for his teammates.
He's like a wide/underneath player. It's crazy.
He's got 12 assists.
I mean, easily MLS MVP right now.
He's one away. He's one assist away from being both the goal leader and the assist leader in the league.
I love.
And you look at Diego Rossi. He's got 11 goals himself, so he's fifth on that list of most goals scored.
Diomande probably has 6 or 7 goals as well. I mean, they got a lot of guys that can find the back of the net.
So bunker Atlanta United.
Maybe. I mean, so I think
somewhat.
I think maybe it's a match where you look to counterattack a little bit more.
That's old school Atlanta United.
You go to kind of a Tata Martino where, yes, you're sitting back, but you're really thinking about how you're going to get attacked.
It's almost like a false bunker because you're trying to lull the other team into security before you counterattack.
Okay, so no Tito. We're a little unsure if Barco's going to play. Who is that guy that's going to be initiating the counter?
Right. Well, that's the big one, right? If it's not Barco, it probably has to be Hindman.
Sure, that's my biggest concern.
Hindman, Nagy, Remedi.
You don't have anyone that has proven they can initiate outside of Barco and Tito. You have no one who we don't know if they're playing. Well, we know Tito isn't, but we don't know if Barco's going to at least start the match. You don't have anyone that's proven they can initiate a counter.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly not as well as you did over the last 2 years prior. And this year, you thought it might be through Pity, maybe not as obviously as quick as Almiron, but maybe he could, through his passing, could find a way to get Joseph in open space.
And realistically, Barco is that guy. We just don't know if he's going to be good to go 90 with a start.
The reason I bring it up because you can't spend the first 60 minutes just bunkering and hoping that somehow
No,
you can pull it out of your butt.
Against a team like that.
Just saying.
Why does he think it's so funny?
I don't know.
He said butt, and he started cracking up.
No, he said pull it out of his butt.
Well,
I mean, come on,
well,
man.
anyways, so
It's kinda
but you don't against a team. Yeah, I agree. So if you're
You agree with
Cincinnati with Eric, other than the butt conclusion, I agree with the rest. That you can sit back against a team like this, but you have to have a way to get out.
Sure.
Because you're not Cincinnati where it's like, well, we just have to sit back and hope that they don't have a good day finishing. You have the attacking quality to get out and counterattack, and when you do that, it's going to make LAFC think twice about throwing bodies forward and trying to attack your bunkering or deep line sitting defense. So that's the big question. That's a good point, Eric, is because I think I would accept you're not going to win the possession battle in this game. LAFC love to possess the ball just as much, if not more so, Bob Bradley does than Frank DeBoer. And when you combine the fact you're on the road, you're playing a team that's so good, I think you've got to be set up for the counter. And the question is, who is going to initiate that counter and get you forward? Because if you can't do that, you're just going to defend deeper and deeper and deeper. And at that point, you're just praying that Carlos Vela doesn't, find the back of the net.
Some would wonder if maybe Dion Pereira is a guy that could start the counter. Could it be the guy that could help initiate?
See,
Here's the thing.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I'll put it this way. He hasn't proven he can do that. He's to be fair, he's not been in a position where he's been asked to do that often or he's had that opportunity. But on top of that, I don't know that this is a match you're going to put a young kid like him in the starting 11.
Especially if you go with a back three.
This is more Miram, I think, than Dion Pereira.
And
unless Barcos.
I mean, there's a lot of moving parts there for sure. I mean, it's going to be really interesting.
Look, you know what? Now that I think about it, Nagby could be that guy.
No,
he's got enough speed.
Nagby, okay.
So but it's the passing more than anything that I think with Nagby can spring other people. That might be how he starts.
I mean, when you think about guys that can start the counter, and to go back to the Pereira comment, I just think he has the traits to do that. You look at guys that, first of all, you pretty much have to have pretty good pace, right? Because you've got to be able to get forward with the ball quickly. You've got to be able to play a good ball in behind the defense or up to one of your attackers. Pereira's not really that type of player, and I think the players that are like that, Miguel Almiron last year was obviously the perfect example of a guy that could come all the way back to the defense and carry it 50 yards forward.
Box to box.
Barco is one of those guys. Darrington Nagby is another one because he's a guy, he's kind of slippery. It's hard to win the ball from that can drive the team forward, take you from midfield into the last third. But like you said, Eric, if it's not Barco and you assume Nagby's playing in a more defensive role, you're going to have to find someone to do that. It could be Julian Gressel playing a great through ball as we saw him doing all the time last year. But who and how you start that counter is going to be critical. Otherwise, you're just going to be defending for your life for 90 minutes.
Joseph Martinez if he's been able to watch Carlos Vela, I thought that was a funny quote, I think after the last match. If I watch LAFC games, then I start to cry. So I just prefer to stay at home, have a glass of rum, and have my cigar.
Well,
should he be smoking during the season?
I'm not even gonna say.
I'm kidding.
Maybe he's like Will Smith, bite it for the look, don't light it.
Eric's trying to set me up, trying to get me to say something I shouldn't.
I just want somebody to incite a Joseph versus Zlatan feud ahead of Atlanta.
Okay, this is it, Eric. I mean, Sam and I talked about this on the way. The question that Sebastian Salazar asked leading into the LA Galaxy.
Totally a leading question.
Where
of
he
course
says,
he knew what Zlatan was going to say.
Who's a better player, you or Carlos Vela? It's basically like, here, do one of your Zlatanisms and criticize Carlos Vela.
Here's the alley to your oop.
You wonder.
Oh, yeah, he teed him up.
Is he going to get that same question about Joseph Martinez, who's even a more realistic comparison because they play the same position?
And also much more personality-wise, because Vela, I mean, you could tell in Vela's response or supposed clap back at Zlatan, it's like, that was a very beta answer, dude. Like, he's like, well, technically, I'm actually a better player right now.
Everyone knows Zlatan is better,
And that's what I'm saying. So, like, if you gave that to, like, Zlatan, to Joseph, he's going to be way more fiery about it.
Yeah. I mean, and so hopefully he doesn't get that layup question in the next 24 to. Well, I don't know. Maybe hopefully he does. It would be great television if Zlatan gets that question next week, leading into that match. But for now, you got to deal with LAFC, and I mean, I think I mean, you guys said it. I mean, there's so many moving parts. How are you going to attack them? Is Barco fit? Who's going to be? How are you going to attack the middle? If you're not going to win the possession battle, how are you planning to get out and counterattack? Those are questions that not only are going to be tough to answer, but they're not questions that Atlanta United have really had to answer this year. Because, like you said, Eric, basically everyone you play is reacting to the way Atlanta plays. And at the very least, this is the first team where Atlanta really have to react to the way they play. And that's completely counter to Atlanta United's kind of MO is like letting the other team do what they want and then finding a way forward.
So you obviously don't want to give LAFC the opportunity for set pieces outside or anywhere near the box. I think you're going to see a lot of. I think this might be a game. Atlanta United fans are just do the best you can. But I'm giving Atlanta United a shot. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, absolutely.
But I think realistically we're looking at hopefully a draw. Is how a lot of people are going to be looking at this game because of how good LAFC is, and they're coming off the loss to LA Galaxy this year. I don't think they've gone back-to-back losses this year.
No.
I don't think I've looked at it, but I'm pretty sure, given their record, you just don't want to give them an opportunity. Atlanta United just isn't. While they're one of the better teams defensively over the course of the entire season, I feel like I'm not going to call it a product of luck, but because they have done incredibly well defensively on an individual basis, I think they've shown enough holes in their I guess in their chemistry to where it can easily they can easily be pulled apart. They can easily be become disorganized and pretty easily scored on if you do it the right way.
I definitely think easily scored on because their defending of Zlatan was very poor. I mean, look, Zlatan is great; he scored great goals, but a lot of the defending there was poor. The first one,
I'm talking about Atlanta United defending.
But but that's what I'm sure. That's what I'm saying. Like it's there to be had. When you're talking about this game in general, it's like Atlanta United. Yeah, they're going to have problems defending because this is the best scoring team in the league. But on the other side, their defense can be had too. We just saw it.
Yeah, I mean, despite the statistics, if you have talent, and Atlanta United clearly have attacking talent, just like the Galaxy.
My concern is that Atlanta United is going to be forced to do something they typically don't do, bunker, for large portions of the game. Inevitably, doing that when you haven't had a lot of actual game experience doing it against a team as talented as LAFC is going to lead to errors somewhere.
Yeah,
just for the lack of experience.
No, you're
at least in in-game situations, you just haven't done that enough to really build up the confidence that you can. I mean, look, maybe I'm wrong, and they can absolutely do it for the majority of the game. But you and I agree that they're not going to hold the lion's share of the possession this match. It is going to look pretty. I think going to look pretty ugly for Atlanta United for the most part.
It's unlikely you dictate the tempo of the game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're hoping for either LAFC to come in and play a bad game. You're hoping for mistakes for the most part. Not saying that Atlanta United is absolutely hopeless in this, but you're going to have to pull something or do something that maybe you haven't been asked to do much this season in trying to come out of a deep hole in your own defensive half, in your own defensive third. You're going to be asked to counter, which sure Atlanta United has shown they can do at times, but that's not their bread and butter.
Yeah.
So that's all part of the going up against a team like one of the better teams in MLS. You gotta face up to the challenge. And we'll see how Atlanta United does that.
I like to play to your strength and don't, because I've said this on this podcast I think 100 times at this point. Really good teams don't always adjust to what the other team's going to do. They make whoever they're playing adjust to them. And if you're Atlanta United, it's like,
and look, if Atlanta United can do that, but great. That's a completely different outlook for the rest of the season. If they can take a team like LAFC and just
go play your game.
Exactly.
Them,
And to play devil's advocate,
do I think it's going to happen?
Eric,
I don't know.
I mean, you talk about teams that are going to play the way they want and how it's so rare for Atlanta United to be in the situation. I think LAFC, until playing the Galaxy last week, were in a similar situation where they were just able to. They were just so much attacking talent. You go through, you see 6-1s, 5-1s, 3-0s, 4-1s, but then they finally, and there aren't many teams like this, but they finally went up a team in the Galaxy you could kind of go toe-to-toe, and suddenly your great defense concedes 3 goals, and you lose. So maybe you could argue that LAFC's, they're going to have to get used to this experience of playing teams that can go toe-to-toe with them too, and that could mean Atlanta United sitting back behind the ball, but they have the ability to counter and attack you and still score a lot of goals like that way. And I don't think LAFC have played a team just like Atlanta United haven't really played a team that can go toe to toe with them like this.
So I will say LA Galaxy do play a lot more like the 2017, 2018 Atlanta United
For sure.
than at least now. And so that does give me some kind of hope that maybe if Atlanta United can again find their inner 2017, 2018, maybe they can play. They really spread this game out, maybe open it up much more than we think that we're giving them credit for. I think. I watched the season. I just don't see that happening on Friday. I would be happy to be wrong.
So if it does happen, and like we see, like a PT Martinez have a great game and take another page turn here, it could be a vital moment, for Atlanta United in this season.
If you're going to,
it's gonna be a tough test.
I mean, if you're going to make the leap, you have to start beating these types of teams.
Absolutely.
And the next 2 weeks are huge. So I'm looking for performance too, Eric. I mean, aside from, maybe you feel like you might be under pressure a little bit there. At the same time, I mean, we're the defending MLS Cup champs. There's plenty of talent on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably going to start PT Martinez. Hopefully you see big minutes from Barco. I don't see any reason Atlanta United can kind of control this game, whether they're sitting off and playing a deeper line or they're trying to control the possession game. I don't see any reason that Atlanta United can't gain control. It's just that based on the performances we've seen from the two teams this season, you would imagine that LAFC would be able to control the tempo. But if you look player to player and you look at the fact you're getting healthy, maybe you find a new shape that works for you. Why can't this be the game where Atlanta United takes that next step where they really show they're contenders for the cup again?
I just think I look at Atlanta United, and I'm going to reiterate this for the last time, but they've been seemingly more prone to mistakes this year. If you're looking to if you're essentially looking to a back five, who do we say the left back would be at that point? If you're looking
if Ambrose isn't back, I think you're
Parkhurst?
probably looking at Parkhurst.
So I mean, how often has he been really successful this season and even last season against really pacey and a guy like Carlos Vela or a guy like Diego Rossi?
Oof.
I mean,
I don't like that matchup.
How often have we seen? And I'm not saying you can't do it. That's not what I'm saying. But if you have to make a decision on who's going to win this match, and that's essentially we're just analyzing what we see essentially on paper and what we've seen in terms of their matches. It's not the best matchup for Atlanta United. So it sounds like we're really down on the team, and at least I guess from my point of view, it sounds like I'm not giving Atlanta United much hope. But
I wouldn't say it's a bad matchup. I would just say performance-wise, what you've seen, there's just no way that you can be considered the favorites compared to what LAFC has done and the fact that you're going to be on the road. I don't think it's like a bad matchup necessarily. I just think that LAFC have played much better this season and they're the home team.
Okay, I guess that's what.
No, it is, but yeah, okay. No,
I mean, look, I
can see.
I would say that Michael Parker's going up against a guy like Carlos Vela. That's a bad matchup for Michael Parker's.
I would tend to agree with that.
So that's the way I'm looking at it.
Cue the alarm! Hot take alert!
But
that's what even part of this is.
That's what I mean by that.
Can you isolate those guys 1v1 with a Parkhurst or with a Gressel if he's at right wing back, or even I think to an extent with a Franco Escobar if you're playing a back four and he.
So people are saying Franco, and I'm like, okay, so that because what we're talking about is having we're talking about having a back five, whatever, three in the back, but it turns into a back five. Talking about Parkhurst, LGP, Miles, Franco Escobar, and then Gressel would be that fifth on the right side.
So are y'all saying?
So if you want to switch,
Escobar on the left, and then Parkhurst, LGP, and Miles the first. Is that what people are saying?
I saw one comment in the chat.
So Escobar on the left at left wing back, Gressel at right wing back. You could do that.
Yeah.
I think people really.
And I mean, Escobar did play on the left side this past week. So
yeah, I mean he's been there a little bit. He came off the bench once. It is very, very hard. And I talked about this. It might have been specifically about Escobar playing on the left back. It's very hard. It's not like a winger where you can kind of be left-footed and play on the left and then switch to the right and cut in and shoot. It's not like that for fullbacks. It's very difficult for a right back to play on the left side and vice versa. We saw that where that weird Breck-Shea Mikey Ambrose pairing on both sides. I heard that sound Sam made was perfectly indicative of what it looked like. It's very, very in a pinch. Yeah, I think Franco at left back, but it's very difficult for him to play there for a lot of reasons. He's not going to be able to just slide over there and play as well as he does it right
You
back.
also probably don't want to mess with the chemistry between Franco Escobar and Julian Gressel right now because of how good that has seemed.
I think that's
so
the biggest thing is like, it's not just about can a guy go play a position like for a game here and there. Yeah, sure. But you build a chemistry with the people on your side of the field.
Yeah.
And that's a big part. Yeah, I mean, and look, in a pinch, fine. But I think, first of all, you got to find someone that can play over there anyway. So you might as well see if Parkhurst is game or even.
Well, I mean, he's done it
Ambrose
in this
is
season, and he's I mean, the next man up, if you want to call it that.
Yeah. So I mean, look.
The only man
so
up.
the other thing about the 3-5-2 is I think you clearly have to get one, if not two, left-sided players that can play left wing back. Because George Bello, we don't know exactly when he's going to be back. Michael Parkhurst doesn't fit there. He's right-footed. Brechet's out for the season, obviously. Mikey Ambrose having injury issues. If you're going to continue in this shape, I think you're going to have to sign someone for maybe in the right and left side of the field to play the wing back spot.
You can go all Leroy Jenkins on this thing and just say, you know what, we're gonna concede 5. We're gonna go ahead and try to match your 5.
That's what I'm saying. You could totally do that.
Leroy Jenkins.
But putting Escobar at left back is
At least
not
they
going
got
to help
chicken.
you score more.
Now
So
I'm hungry.
I tend to push back on that because people say that a lot. Just put Franco on the left. It's so tough. Like your body shape is totally different as a defender when you switch sides. And the most important thing is, and I try to explain this individually as I can. If you're on the left and the ball's on your right foot, it's a lot harder to shield it away from the defense. So it's a lot easier to lose the ball in the back. If you're playing on the left side, if you're playing on towards the left touch line, the ball's on your right foot. You got to get around the ball to kind of shield it. That's okay if you're an attacking player in the last third because you can lose the ball every now and then there. And there's the threat of you shooting if you're cutting in, say, from the left onto your right foot. There's no threat of that in the back. So it becomes a lot easier to defend you, high press you, and force you into mistakes on the ball, aside from the fact that you have to completely change your body shape and angles when you're defending.
Message of the night goes to Jenna. She says, I had a really inappropriate comment about being able to watch Bella and Escobar go at it.
Oh, boy. 2019, let's just leave it at that.
What was the comment?
She goes on to say, I'll keep that to myself.
Oh, yes. I want to know.
You can DM Josh.
So that match,
I have no idea what you're talking about, Jenna. What is she talking about?
Okay, we need some sort of emergency button that just diverts our topic.
Well, I really don't get it.
Josh is over here saying,
Does this have to do with Eric?
I will abruptly divert the topic to Josh over here saying, I'll try and explain it as simply as I can. For you peasants out there that don't quite grasp the game.
I think it'd be a great matchup.
that matchup Friday 10 o'clock. So let's get ready for that one. Thankfully, they got a full week off or a full week of rest, and before they got to play LA Galaxy Saturday after that.
So August 3rd, man. I tweeted this, but I was with my dad and my brother and my nephew were all kind of in the bowels of the stadium getting ready for the game. And Darren Eales walks by. So I stopped him. We talked for a minute. And, my family thought it was pretty cool that, Darren was stopped to talk to me. So I just wanted to really just show off.
That's great. Your family thinks you're cool.
Right. I just wanted to
my
show
mom
off.
thinks I'm cool, too. So.
I just wanted to show off in front of them. But anyway, that was one of the things because he was the one that dropped the bird in my head that Rudy wasn't playing. So I was like, we got to have Zlatan. And from what Darren said, he was basically like, well, he did play against Minnesota, earlier this year. So if that's any indication, it's like, well, the turf monster didn't claim him then, so it would be great. And plus, that's why I want somebody in the media to say something to Joseph to get him to say something inflammatory about Zlatan. So that'll make Zlatan mad, and then Zlatan will play.
That's going to be a
when
great
I asked about
week.
LAFC and Carlos Vela, he talked about crying. So I don't know how that's going to
Well, no, but he did also react when Zlatan said some things about, being the best or whatever. Didn't Joseph do a zipping his lips motion when they were talking to him? So, I mean, I think there's probably something there. Joseph probably feels, the type of player he is, I'm sure he wouldn't mind getting into a verbal fracas
Look,
with
90th minute, I wouldn't mind if LGP got a red card for doing something stupid to Zlatan.
Come on, Eric.
You guys are the cowards that were
means
saying
he's
on the radio
suspended for the next
show.
game.
You guys were the cowards that were
It's a
saying
guy
on the
like-
radio show, we don't want Zlatan to play.
Well, I don't want any piece of
No,
it.
I don't want
He's
Zlatan to play.
He's horrifying.
I
Big and
I
strong
hope-
and
I
scores
hope.
goals. And
first minute he goes down, scrapes his knee, turf monster got him, and he's out for the rest of the match. I hope that's what happens.
what did you guys?
So you're wishing their best player get injured.
Should we address
That is a
also?
great way to taunt the tread guy here.
I'm hoping he scrapes his knee.
Oh, so he
And
goes
that's
out
enough.
of the game on a straight
That's
knee.
enough
Okay.
because it's turf and the turf monster got him. That's enough to get him out of the game.
Should we address the elbow before we?
Yeah, he
before we
did
So,
the
yeah.
dude's skull.
So here's the thing. Yeah, that's the. If you missed it, go watch the videos. Latan elbows the hell. I forget the player's name.
Almunia.
Okay,
Who
boom.
was on Orlando last year.
It dents the guy's head with an elbow. Look, if you're gonna, clearly there's some force behind that elbow. If you end up denting the guy's head, I think he had surgery on the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then no additional. So VAR missed it. Then first of all, VR missed it because Latan is in the picture.
And it was the end of the match, and
Because Latan is a
MLS
god, and he
incompetence
somehow blinded
kicks
the
in.
referee or changed the image on the screen so that the referee saw something completely different. Because there's no other player in this universe that would happen to, and he'd still be on the field.
That's like the frozen envelope argument.
No other
with, like,
player
the
in
Knicks
this
draft.
universe.
It's like the ref went into like VAR and instead he got like an episode of Barney or something. It's like, well, I guess Latan didn't do anything wrong here.
So it probably should have gone to VAR. I think.
It should have gone to VAR. Should have
Or,
been a red.
I guess
he should be.
officially reviewed.
He should.
What
have
did you think he should
multiple
have been?
I don't necessarily think. I don't know if he did it on purpose.
Yeah.
It doesn't, but it doesn't matter. We've seen red cards done for less.
But after the fact,
Yeah, the game's over.
we've seen some silly ones. We've seen some silly ones after the fact. To be fair, I mean, I don't want to defend MLS ref.
If you're gonna give Zlatan a red card, you should have done it for just the absolute like dragging he does of Bob Bradley after the game when he's going up to the like LAFC bench and tell him to go home, you little bleeps. You know what I mean?
I don't like the fact that he, one, gets the pass, and two, MLS comes out and it gives him a warning, meaning we know that you did do something wrong, but we're gonna give you a warning this time because you're Zlatan. That to me sends an even worse message than not getting.
It's not even the worst non-punishment of the week. Shout out to the NFL for getting another thing hilariously wrong. But it's just one of those things where I don't think necessarily anything was warranted. Yeah, it stinks for that dude. He got his skull dented. But, hey, like Josh said, I mean, after the game, what do you do? Like, how long does the jurisdiction of like a referee
I just
last?
feel like it was hard to prove he definitely did it on purpose.
Intent is always hard.
We've seen red cards given for less.
After the fact, though,
VAR.
no, I'm not saying during the match. If we want to go after the officials, that's fine. But the big story today is that he's not suspended after the fact.
The two biggest VAR, I don't know how you missed this, moments is Loretowicz throwing whoever he threw in the
Well, then he got a red card like 2 minutes later. So
But who
The
were they
Red
playing? I
Bulls.
forget who they. It was Red
that
Bulls.
was recently. Yeah.
He was very angry.
And then this elbow from
Ooh,
Zlatan. These are the two biggest misses, and I'm like,
I've seen worse.
recently,
Well, last year,
where they
Tomas
clearly
Martinez
missed everything.
hitting the guy in the face off the ball that didn't go. I mean,
Sure, but you could claim VAR still new. We're well into VAR.
the Chris
I mean,
McCann
shoot,
one
we
where
had
they
some
last year.
Atlanta
where-
United on Atlanta United violence when Pity slapped Miram after the game. You know?
Where Miram slapped PT, you mean? Where he came from behind him and grabbed him by the...
No, Miram grabbed him by the hair, and Pity turned around and slapped him in the face.
Oh, right. Anyways, so... relevant.
That was after the game, so it's not a big deal.
But this was after the elbow was
So
after the game.
I know I'm in the minority on this, but
That's what I'm saying.
I feel like you couldn't prove... I mean, Zlatan's a big guy. When you're that big, guys run into your elbows when you're kind of, holding your hands up, protecting yourself. I tend to think, I mean, you can't prove he did it on purpose, and that's why you can't, after the fact, suspend him. Now, what you should have done is had the referee go to VAR, and then it's kind of up to his discretion.
But again, it's
What
still
he
after the
saw
game. Why are you going
He
to
saw it
VAR?
on the field.
No. This would be during.
Yeah, during the game, yeah.
The dude was down for like 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, and it was in stoppage time. Yeah, so I don't really know. But after the fact, so I think the warning thing, Eric, is basically saying, because Zlatan is the master of the dark arts, where he could do something like that,
He is.
and you can't really tell if he means it or not, because it's not like a blatant elbow with a lot of force.
It's like, oh, that's just Zlatan being
It's more
Zlatan.
I
he put his elbow up and defended himself, and he's huge, so it caused a lot more damage maybe than he intended.
I agree with
to.
you. I don't think that he necessarily did it on purpose, but I don't think he's like 100% innocent.
Completely
Right,
innocent.
but
yeah.
you has to be 100% guilty if you're going to give a red after the fact.
Not based on how we've seen red cards given in the past.
Well, I don't want to.
Well, it should be. No, he's talking about more, I think,
After
what
the
it
game.
should be, not
Like,
necessarily what we
retroactive
see.
reds.
Precedent doesn't
here's the
necessarily
thing.
prove
We're
right.
talking about two different things. I'm talking about in the moment. That wasn't missed. That wasn't missed by VAR.
Yeah,
The
no,
dude
I-
checked
I
it.
don't- I don't know.
The dude upstairs checked it, and he was like, yeah, you know what?
I would like to hear the
It's not
explanation.
time, so
for
fine.
sure.
VAR loves the Zlatan.
But I do want to say, I think the warning thing, if we read between the lines, the warning that Zlatan got from the league, what they're saying is if you do something like that again, where maybe we can't really tell, or
Oh, we're gonna give
your
you a
reputation
suspension,
precedes you, and this time we're going to suspend you. So that's why I think the warning
I've
means.
never seen the league give out a warning.
No, me neither. No.
That's
No, I mean,
pathetic.
Well, look, the MLS. It's not like this isn't a league that we've
Throw
seen kind
some
of make
balls.
things up.
Suspend. Argue with the greatest player. MLS
But
has.
I don't think
It's not like we haven't seen them make things up on the fly before. This league has done that. So I mean, just because something's written down or a rule doesn't mean it's always.
I just don't. I hate the idea of people calling MLS a joke, and it's already got an uphill battle in that regard anyway, and this just makes it worse. Like you don't want to be a retirement league. This is literally what you make it look like when Zlatan is allowed to do something like this and nothing happens, intentional or not. I don't care. We've seen it. We've seen red cards and suspensions given for worse
and he was
or for less.
Let's not forget though, Eric. He was suspended retroactively last year, and I can't remember if it was an elbow or some sort of other histrionics. I'd like to compare maybe. So that's a good point brought up in the chat. Is technically he's already been warned about this type of behavior. He was suspended for it last year, so. Who knows what's going on? We could do another 2 hours on what's going on with MLS.
I think this comment is sarcastic, but I 100% actually agree with this comment. How dare that guy slam his head into Zlatan's elbow? Exactly. Don't mess with Zlatan. You'll be fine.
Stay away from him.
Well, that I can agree with.
Don't mess with Zlatan.
Don't put yourself in a position. But once you're there, don't expect any punishment going Zlatan.
I can't. I mean, look. Obviously, as an Atlanta United fan, I want them to win every game. But as a fan of soccer, you guys don't want to see Zlatan.
Sure, as a neutral. But are you not an Atlanta United fan?
I am, but
Look, I know that Atlanta United, as it's constructed right now, probably as an uphill fight against Zlatan.
I don't think Atlanta United winning or losing a game to LAFC in August, though, is going to be what determines the rest of their season. I want them to try to be the best.
The Eastern Conference
is close, but
you've seen the rest of the schedule.
Close. I'm just saying.
I would rather not have Zlatan in the picture right now.
This could be the only chance you ever have to see Zlatan Ibrahimovic in your life. That's all I'm saying.
Look,
in a sporting mode, I want to see Atlanta United beat the best.
You know what I don't want? I don't want him to have an El Tráfico moment again.
Well, I don't want that either.
I don't want to be in the picture at all. I want the Turf Monster to get him a minute in.
He was so good.
Find a way, Turf Monster. If Mercedes-Benz is good to us, somehow, some way, it'll keep coming up with funky ass shit every single day. Okay. Anything else, guys?
Another weird butt comment by Eric.
He's put gin and juice on him, man. I was like, where did that come from?
Eric has been on something.
And we're now after dark.
I have one quick rant before we go.
Oh boy.
Yeah, oh boy. And I saved it for the end because it's about Atlanta United too, and no one wants to hear about this.
Nobody wants to hear about Atlanta United too.
No.
Exactly. All right, that's been this episode of the podcast.
You can just turn this off if you want. I think there is so much criticism been levied at Atlanta United too for the results, for not having a style of play, for not having an identity. People, let's accept what this team is. It's only there to keep first teamers fresh, to keep a Mikey Ambrose playing, to keep a Brandon Vasquez playing. And we saw this year Brandon Vasquez came into the lineup, and if he was not getting minutes with Atlanta United too, same with Dion Pereira, they might have looked a lot rustier when they did come in. The other part is to get academy players minutes and to get young players professional minutes. There is absolutely no the team is not trying really to win.
The results are irrelevant.
The results are irrelevant, and to the point where, and I could go, what's their style of play? What's their identity? Why are people, we're getting blown out?
They don't really need
the problem.
That stuff.
Who cares?
Yeah.
To me, you could go lose every game if this is what the intention of your team is. You could go lose 4-5-0 every week, and in the end, you're able to plug in a Dion Pereira in a pinch earlier in the season because he's been playing with the twos. You're able to get experience for a guy like George Campbell at a professional level, a homegrown player. It's not about winning. It's not even about a style of play. It's not a priority for Atlanta United. That's the reason they hardly market the team, is because this is just like a reserve team for them to play practice matches in. Does that mean they should move down to USL League One? Maybe so. But let's stop criticizing them on results, style of play, things like that, because that is not what this team is about, and I don't think it's ever what they're going to be about.
Atlanta United 2 is a preseason NFL game. That's essentially what it is. Like it's the results are irrelevant. You're using it to get players ready. You're using it to rehab players.
So just don't watch.
Exactly.
I mean, just don't watch. I mean, people they're turning off fans. Why is anyone going to go out there? I think if the team could play every game behind closed doors,
I think they would. I don't think they care. I'm sure they would like fans there, but the attendance numbers.
It's not about that. It's not about that. It's about being able to slide, to have guys rehab. It's about being able to keep guys fresh that aren't playing a lot. It's about giving young guys minutes. It's about nothing else whatsoever.
All right. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
That was mine.
All right, cool. Sam?
No, I got nothing.
Right.
I mean, there's so many things spinning around my head right now about some of the stuff that has happened on this episode.
Some of the stuff that Eric said.
Look, every episode. Look, I warned you guys before we started that I'm running on fumes today. So you're welcome.
Twitter handles.
You can find me at Eric G. Quintana on Twitter.
You can find me at JoshB914.
At Sam J. Franco for yours truly.
Follow the podcast at MOTS Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, MOTS Podcast on YouTube, Facebook page, Instagram, and I think that's it. All right, that does it for us. Until next time. See you later, Lana.
Don't dent your skull.
All right, y'all. Good night. Thank you very much for tuning in.
Adios.
We had a lot of fun. I don't know what Eric was doing.
My co-hosts are cowards. They don't want to see Zlatan.
I do. Just